Let's go. It is time for Barn Burner here in Calgary. It is a rainy Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's we're fine. It's fine. We'll deal with it. It's all good because you know what? You know what we have to do today? Today, men, need to get your helmets on. Because it is earmuffs fucking game day. That's right. Calgary Flames kick off the season tonight at home against the Winnipeg Jets. Season opener. We're going to be at Greta tonight. Get your tickets if you haven't already. Go to nationgear.ca. Go to the events thing, and you'll find it in there. Parties, I think, is what it's called. You get either way, or you could probably just show up at Greta tonight, and we'll let you in. But we're going to have a little get together, a little soiree, our season opening watch party tonight. Chance for you to win outdoor game tickets, this sort of thing, and maybe a special guest could be joining us. Rumor has it.
Are we going to have those Backlund captain football jerseys available for sale? Because, I mean, it's been viral response.
I hope so, yeah. Are those on nationgear.ca? Because they're pretty.
Just at Greta tonight.
Did you overnight them to your house?
No, I'm not sure. So, you know.
Wolverine's here. Maybe we got a box of those. Well,
maybe.
If we do, they'll be at Greta tonight.
So we'd love to see you at Greta. The game is at 8. We'll be there before, during, after that whole thing. Join us. And they got some swag bags. We got food. We got drinks. Got arcade games. We're going to have a hell of a time tonight. Heck of a time over at Greta, and we'd love to see you.
We have an update as well.
Oh, do you?
Our buddy at Greta, he knows about the Nugget Challenge, and he said, "Look, I don't want to ram this round peg in a square hole. What event do we need to do to get Pinder to eat the 42 nuggets?" And you were kind of a little down on it being tonight at the watch party. So we're gonna get you connected here. We're gonna get all the minds in the room together and figure out this monstrosity of the event.
I like that.
Too many nuggets, because I know you weren't super keen on tonight.
There's too much going on.
Too much going on. It gets lost in the sauce, man. There's too much going on tonight. I agree, Retro. Hey, let's not make our next guy wait. He's one of our valued, of our treasured guests. We go to the Insider Hotline, a presentation of TELUS. Enter to win one of 6 monthly prizes, including tickets to Calgary hockey games and awesome tech like AirPods, Apple Watches, and more. No purchase necessary. All you have to do is fill out a quick survey to enter for yours. And your chance to win, go to www.telus.com/Flames contest. We go to the Insider Hotline presented by TELUS and say hello to Jamie McLennan, who joins us. Noodles, how are we doing there, fella?
Not too bad. How's everybody today?
Well, I mean, game 1, everything's great.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's amazing. Think about it. It's the fresh start for everybody. You know what? Clean slate. No matter what you did last year, no matter what you did in the preseason, it's about game 1 and hitting the ground running. So we'll see.
And you know what? Always tomorrow is going to be overreaction Thursday. Whether if a guy gets a hat trick tonight, he's going to score 70. If a goalie gets pulled, they're like, this guy's going to be a disaster all year. So it's I'm excited. I watched the games last night. It was nice to kind of get back into the groove, but looking forward to watching a lot of games tonight. I will be couching it later.
Nick Paul and Braden Point are on pace for 240 points, Noodles. I mean, they're loving life in Tampa today.
This is going to sound like a shot, but did you ever get to play in a season opener in your NHL career?
I did. Okay. Yes. It's not a shot. We all know where I ended up in my career, but I did. I think it was 1995 after the lockout. I was the starting goalie for the Islanders. So we came back in January. I started that home opener. And I remember being terrified, not only to play, but terrified when you're coming out, the introductions. If you step on the ice and you eat it, I remember thinking, I think it was myself and Tommy Salo. And Salo ate it after me. So it was it's tough. But
it's one of your worst nightmares.
Yeah, it's funny. You're not even that you give up 6 that night, because it probably happened as well. But it was more like nowadays. Can you imagine walking onto the ice and falling? That's a meme. That'll live forever on the internet.
Yes.
I think of one of the most famous falls on ice. Do you remember the girl singing the anthem who lost forgot the lyrics, went back, and I think it was Chris Draper or somebody like that helped her. It was But in my head, I'm like, you never, like, that's something that she'll never live down. And I'm sure she's, she was a young girl at the time. She's a grown woman now, and guaranteed the internet never fails.
That was a nightmare. She she couldn't remember the words, left, came back out to regroup and do it again, and then slipped coming on her way out. Good God.
Exactly.
No one deserves it. Were you at home for the season opener?
Yes, I was with the Islanders, and I believe it was, were we not in those weird jerseys that year?
You might have been the fish sticks.
Captain Highliner.
Sure, logo. Yeah. So somebody sent me one the other day. Actually, the Islanders PR guy, because I in my basement, I could show you guys. I've got like a jersey room of all the teams I played for, and a mask and gloves and stuff like that. And I tried to get my Islander jersey, the Fisherman, and somebody bought the whole set. So even if you go online to buy it, it's like $650 US for my jersey. I'm like, I'm not spending that. So the PR guy from the Islanders sent me one, and so I'm going to get it framed. And because I'm in the minority. I love the colors of the jersey. Like the logo was a bit weird, but everything else, it looked awesome. I loved it.
And see, I was the other way. I didn't mind because it was the mean-looking fisherman guarding the net. I didn't mind the logo, but it was the swooshy,
like a wave.
Yeah, it looks like the jersey moved during printing, and it kind of got the ink kind of splotched along the side.
They were progressive before, they stepped out of line, put it that way. Yeah. And I don't know, there was a lot of traditional Islander fans that were pissed. Really pissed.
So you're skating out onto the ice, number 35, Jamie McLennan. Are you kind of like, am I getting some cheers here? Are they happy about me being the guy? Or?
I don't know. I mean, back then I was still a prospect. I wasn't suspect. Right?
Yeah.
They still thought it was good back then, so I was fine.
So we're going into the season. You, as we've talked about, we've had you on. You cover and work the Ottawa Senator broadcast. Red is in Buffalo. We've got the Coyotes, the Senators, the Sabres. There's some teams that have been bad for a while that have probably good reason to be encouraged and excited for this season. Of these teams, of that group, I suppose, who are you most bullish on? Who do you think has that shot to flirt with a playoff spot or maybe even get in?
Well, I'm bullish on the Senators. Obviously, I'm biased because I called 50 of their games, right? So I see them up close and personal. I am concerned about the injury to Josh Norris and him not being available. And then Shane Pinto, a guy who scored 20 goals as a 21-year-old last year. He's working out with a skills coach right now until he gets a contract. So if you looked at Ottawa on paper, you have Tim Stützle, a 21-year-old who had 90 points last year. This kid's a superstar. So you got Stützle, you have Josh Norris that 2 years ago as a 21-year-old scored 35 goals in, I think, 70 games. And then you have Shane Pinto, a 21-year-old who scored 20 last year. So they're on that. And then you've got Brady Tkachuk on the wing, who's an animal, scored 35 goals. You have Drake Batherson, you have Claude Giroux, you got Tarasenko, you got Kubalik. Their top nine, if they're healthy, it looks really good. And their D, I like they've got a 4-pack there that's as good as anybody. If you believe that Jake Sanderson's going to be a star. Now, I'm bullish on Jake. I grew up with his dad and his mom. I went to high school with them. And this kid's a star at 20, literally can skate like the wind. He reminds me, and I know this is lofty expectations, reminds me of Scott Niedermayer. It's just effortless out there. Just everything's so easy for him. So you've got Shabbat, Sanderson, Chychrun, and this guy named Artem Zub, who's a really he's the Rhett Warner of the group.
Who's stabilizing.
Poor bastard.
Yeah. Drinking problem.
So do they have enough in net, Noodles? That's the position you played. Korpisalo has been very heralded at times and seems like a throw-in at other times when he got moved to LA at the deadline last year. And then Forsberg? To me, that's where I just don't know that I trust. Are they going to get the saves?
Well, they haven't gotten the saves the last 4 years. If you actually look at their starts, it's been embarrassing. 2-13, 3 and 10 and 4. That's basically what's cost them the playoffs. So if you look at last year, Forsberg's a good goalie, but he's a tandem. He's not a one. So at the start of the season, Cam Talbot misses the first 5 weeks. So Forsberg's got to be the guy. He's a short-term starter. He's not a number one. But if you have a tandem, he's really good in a tandem. Same thing with Korpisalo. I think Korpisalo is a really good goaltender, but I don't think he's a standalone. I've talked about it before with you guys. There's 6, 7 standalones in the league this year.
Yeah.
Markstrom and Hellebuck and Vasilevsky, Demko, guys like that. None of these guys are that guy. But working together, they're really good. And that's where I think if they get the saves, they get the group that takes another step. I'm bullish on them making the playoffs. Now, that being said, they're in the Atlantic Division, which is, pretty scary division right now, given that, okay, is Tampa going to take a step back? They looked pretty damn good last night with a guy named Jerry Johansson in net. It's actually Johan, but I call him Jerry. So, he looked pretty decent, but Tampa looks solid. The Leafs are going to be good. I think does Boston take a step back, but how much? They still got a hell of a team there. And then does Florida take a step back with some of their injuries? Well, maybe, but they're still a pretty good team. So, and then all the teams that we just talked about, Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit, all got better in the offseason, even through osmosis. Like Detroit got better just because Seider's another year older, because Raymond's another year older. Billy Husso, I call him Rick Cluso in net. Like maybe he's taken another step where it's like he's playing like he'll be a number one net. And Buffalo, I think Buffalo makes the playoffs based on one thing. If the Levi kid can settle in, because that's a big ask there, because they don't have a Ryan Miller to play with to bring him along. If you look at that goaltending stable, there's, you got Comrie. I don't see a guy who's going to help him grow. It's more of just like a guy, it's Levi's net and go have it type of thing. And they got Luka Puka, Lepinen, or whatever his name is, UPL. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his. I don't think he's gotten better in the last 2 years.
The other problem they have is they've got good defensemen. They don't play well defensively.
Yes.
I've watched them a little bit more. Like they are soft and terrible in their own end.
Yeah. See, I like their D though. I mean, that Dahlin's a player. That Samuelson's a really stabilizing guy. Power. Like, I don't know who's that. Who's the 4 there? Right-handed. What's his name?
They brought in Ben.
No,
Johnson
it starts with
Yoki
Haru.
Yeah.
Oh, Henry.
Henry.
Yeah.
You got to have a nickname for him.
Yeah, no kidding. You need one there for sure.
I'll find one for him, but he's the guy that I have the question mark on. I don't know if he's playing a little too high in the lineup, but Buffalo I like. So, when you're looking at, I just talked about 7 teams in the Atlantic, and Montreal is going to be better. Right. And Montreal is going to be better just based on health. Those guys would have a hangnail. They shut the guy down last year because they were trying to get Bedard. So, you're going to have a healthier Montreal. They're going to take some points off the teams too. So be really interesting what happens in the Atlantic this year.
Are you able just quickly to switch to a speaker? I don't know, maybe because the earbuds, it's a little garbly on our end.
Okay.
You can switch. That'll be better.
Sure.
Yeah. That'll be a little bit better if you can still hear us or whatever. But are you well, I guess it depends how you feel about it. We're shit scared here in Calgary about how good the Oilers are going to be. Do you have the same kind of a feeling about the Leafs out there? Or I don't know what the emotion, because we're really looking for some way that this is going to go sideways on the Oilers. What's the mood out there with Toronto? We actually can't hear you because you.
Well, you screwed it up, T.
Got it
Way
now.
to go.
There we go.
Better now. There we go. Technology and stuff.
Much better. Awesome.
Way better there. Good.
So anyways, yes, I think you're scared on a lot of different fronts. Two teams in Canada is Toronto and Edmonton. But again, on paper, everything looks great. But as we know, you plan everything on paper. That's not how it works out. You have one major injury that changes the look of your group. You have inconsistency like we saw in Calgary. Did we all see Huberdeau going from 115 points to 55 or whatever the hell it was? Like nobody saw that, right? Like, so you get a star player or the expectations on a team, and then all of a sudden, like Calgary, it seemed like everything that went wrong last year could have gone wrong. I guess their number one defenseman is that Anderson gets run over by a car in Detroit. Like it's just like you're like, what the hell's going on out there? Kadri didn't settle in. Lindholm missed Goudreau and his one-timers. Like Markstrom, there were nights he looked like me, which is not a compliment. There's just some things but I expect them to be better just through, those guys showing up in shape, more motivated. But Edmonton should scare the hell out of people because it's not just a two-player team anymore. You got Kane, you got Hyman, you added Connor Brown for pennies on the dollar. Some of their kids are pushing through. The McLeod kid looks like he might be a player. This Holloway kid might be a player. Bouchard, if the light ever goes on for him in his own zone, like he might be a hell of a player. I think Darnell Nurse, if you want to argue the contract, so be it. But at the end of the day, this guy comes to play, and does he make mistakes? Sure. But I'd much rather reel a guy in than have to cattle prod him. So, Ekholm, it was a great trade. Their goaltending's still a question mark. I think like every team, every tandem, but Skinner was a rookie last year, and I expect Campbell to be better. So same thing in Toronto. They got question marks. Their D, everybody knows their D aren't great. Morgan Riley's a really good player, but is he a standalone one or is he more of a tandem guy? TJ Brody had an off season last year. I expect him to be better. God, we all love Gio. We all played with him. We think he's, the most amazing person. He's 40 years old. He just turned 40 the other day. So, how much gas does he have left in the tank? John Klingberg had a terrible season last year. One of the worst statistical analytical players in the league last year. Toronto signed him for 4.5. Is he going to run their power play? Can he have a bounce back season? So there's still some question marks on these top tier teams. It's how it's going to unfold. And that's why I'm so excited to watch these games tonight because, we're going to have overreaction Thursday, no matter what it is. If McDavid gets 4 tonight, they're like, he's getting 200 points this year. Mm-hmm. If he gets shut down, it's like, whoa, or like maybe it's a step back. So be interesting to see. Same with Calgary. Calgary's got their hands full with Winnipeg tonight.
Dean, I got some good news for you. Vegas looked good last night. Does that help soothe your Edmonton fears that Vegas still looks good, or is that more trouble?
It's kind of independent and free of all of that other. They're just at some point you just feel like that world-class skill breaks through and it's just got to erase some of the other shortcomings. Because they had Mike Smith. No one was going to win with Mike Smith. It just was not going to happen. And then Campbell comes in and saw him in Toronto. It's like if Skinner takes over the net and is just okay. Aiden Hill won a Stanley Cup last year. If you can provide steady goaltending and not kill your team at the wrong time, you can probably make it work. And I think that their defense has come along. I agree. Bouchard, I think he's going to be older, more mature, and a little bit better. And Ekholm from the start of the season, from game 1 through 82, if he's healthy, I think he's enough of a difference maker to make them scary for sure.
Well, the other thing too, guys, I always come back to, do you remember Nathan McKinnon's comments when he lost in the playoffs in his 9th year? And he said, I haven't done shit in this league. And he was pissed. Like he basically was saying like, I've been in this league 9 years and I haven't done anything. Yeah, he was up for the Hart, all of these things and, scoring races that he was up for and everything. I remember bookmarking that and saying like, this guy is going to be on a mission. And sure enough, the next year they win the cup. McDavid's got a little bit of that. Like, I feel like he was pissed last summer. You could tell his body language. And then you hear the stories out of Edmonton where he said to, Captain Skate, I want everybody in town 2 weeks early. And, all of his narrative has been like, I don't care about the Art Ross. I don't care about, winning the Hart. We need to win here. And they are in a window. Like the window is open for these guys. Yeah. And, Draisaitl needs an extension soon. Like and McDavid's deal's up in 3 years. Like there's still plenty of room to wedge through the window, but it's just, in my mind, I bookmarked the Nathan McKinnon comment, and I'm thinking 97 might be on that path, but we'll see. Easier said than done. Because you're right. Vegas looked like they hit the ground running last night. No Stanley Cup hangover, although they will have one at some point. But, I'm not sleeping on LA. I'm not sleeping on, some of these teams in the Pacific. We just talked about Calgary. Calgary, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, did they not have 18 overtime and shootout losses last year? Was it something ridiculous?
They led
like
the
that?
league. That and one goal losses. It was like
right.
The razor's edge killed them. They lost every little
like that. I
conflict.
thought I read that stat like 2 days ago. You can say you pivot half of those. Let's say you get 8 more points. Like they're well into the playoffs now.
Yeah,
and that's on a dysfunctional year, not on a good year. So
we spent so much time. That was the thing. We would do our post game show or whatever, and even if it's the same team, the same struggles, the same, we talked about just how messed up the room was and the whole thing. All of it being the same and equal. If a goalpost or just one little shootout, if it goes another way 4 times, you're still in the playoff teams with this dysfunctional club.
Yeah,
it doesn't. I don't know that you're any more likely to win a playoff round, but it does change how people view it.
Well, it changes the narrative, right? You look at
the attitude of the room for the
sure it does.
Everything. Like it changes how you look at everything. Look at that organization. Look at the players. Look at the coach. Look at everything, and then you just don't go, okay, that's the problem. This coach, this player, this. Like, to me, there was probably a 6-pack of, we'll call it dysfunctional problems, regardless of how you unpack it, whether it was
only 6.
Well, maybe, yeah. Let's do a baker's dozen. We could probably 15, right? But at the end of the day, they were that close to the playoffs. And, the change was from within. Husk gets brought, gets the promotion. Connie gets the promotion. And they come back basically with the same team going, okay, we saw what you did last year. We'll give you another opportunity to kind of hit the ground running. So, a better, and I say this respectfully, a better conditioned Kadri, where he just had a short off season. You win the cup, it's tough. You don't get to, and especially with his finger and stuff, he probably wasn't able to, do a lot of things that he wanted to do. The guy had a really strong off season from what I hear. Now let's see what he looks like. I thought he looked decent in the preseason. Lindholm, I know there's some contract stuff over the head, of Hannafin and Lindholm. But you're seeing some of these signings. Don't you think they either hurt or helped the value? Like, I had this argument yesterday. Like, how can William Nylander ask for $10.5 million when Mark Scheifele just signed for 8.5? Like,
well, it's quite a bit younger, but $2 million is a fair amount of money, right?
Yeah, but I mean, 30 to what is Nylander? 27. He'll be 28 in his new deal, and so it's 3 years. You're right, but it's just. Like, I look at some of the marketplaces, like, I don't know what Lindholm wants, but be careful what you wish for, because that marketplace might not be out there for some of these guys that they're thinking they might as well cash in with the team they know and the team that wants to sign them. So be interesting to see.
Yeah, or you end up signing in Columbus.
Yeah.
For less money. Damn it. How did that work?
Still, I just can't get over it. I can't get over it. Retro, which opening day do you remember one sticking out? Obviously there's your first one, but was it your first when you get traded to Buffalo? Is the first one in Calgary? Is there an opening night where that stood out to you?
The first one's always the one that stands out the most, I think.
Yeah.
We played Jersey, who just won the cup. So the banner went up, and Putty was there from Seinfeld, and it was a big deal.
The Devils!
Yes.
Just hauling in the big stars in New Jersey.
Well, you must have been stage fright, hey, Rhett?
Well,
Putty's here.
Yeah.
Putty was. I loved Seinfeld, so I probably was a little bit intimidated.
Do you remember if you won or not? Did you guys win that
No,
night?
we lost 4-1, 3-1. Yeah.
Sounds like a Devils win. Yeah.
The minute Jersey would get up, that was it. It was just like they poured quicksand in the neutral zone, and that was it. Game was over.
Yeah.
Like, Jersey could be up 1-0, 28 minutes into the game, and you could predict the score. Like, it was going to be 1-0 or 2-1 if you happen to get a power play or a 5-on-3 for some reason, because Ken Danico chopped somebody's leg off by accident. It's just like
it wasn't an accident.
Yeah, by accident.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to ask, did you watch Bedard last night? First impressions?
He's special. You can tell he's special. He's just going to probably take him 5 games to figure out spacing and timing and everything. There were a few times where his lack of either experience or strength got exposed a little bit along the wall. He got a couple pushes where, I think he's not used to going up against, a 28-year-old man type of thing, as opposed to just bullying their way in junior. There was one, especially in the second period, of far wall. I can't remember who hit him, but it was like, okay, kind of welcome to the league. I'm going to challenge you at every turn here. But you can tell, and he had a shot, speed, in stride through the triangle of the defender, and it was a hell of a save by Jari. You can tell, like, he's going to be. I still think, like, I think he's a 35 to 40 goal scorer this year.
Wow,
His shot reminds me of Austin Matthews' release from a goaltender perspective. If you see, he changes his angle, he's able to shoot in stride. He doesn't need a big windup. It's quick and it's deceptive. And if he can harness that, especially on the power play, like the power play moved the puck around pretty good last night. But I think if he gets into a groove, like I think it's north of 30 for sure. But I think he's a special one, and it's pretty good because now you've got a few kind of, if you're not just watching your home team, you're watching the Flames. Now all of a sudden you go, well, I'll turn on Chicago because that might be must-see TV. And, McDavid's must-see TV. You've got about 3 or 4 guys in the league now that you're like to check that guy out, see what he's like. The kid in Minnesota doesn't get enough love. That Kaprizov.
Yeah.
Like, I like watching him. I know Minnesota, I might have helped set the tone in the year 2000 where, when I was their first pick, but they're not that boring, non-sexy team. They're pretty damn good team. So it's interesting to see, but there is some
find your goalie and you build around him.
Exactly.
That's the identity of your team.
Yeah. I put up
Jacques Lemaire. Talk about Jersey hockey.
Yeah.
I remember sitting on the bench after the trade deadline. We had traded away, I think, Scott Pellerin and a couple guys, and we were playing Colorado. And it was on home ice, and we were shorthanded. And our defenseman, Brad Bombardier, looked over to me and he goes, "Would you take a look what's on the ice?" So I was the highest paid guy after the deadline, I think at like 1.4 or something like that. They had, I think it was north of 45 million on the ice, including Patrick Waugh, but it was Bork. It was, Rob Blake.
Yeah.
And then it was Sakic, Forsberg. Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
Like, it was literally like 40 some million. And I think we had about 2.1 million. Our payroll was 11 million by the end of it, after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I don't think we won that night. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think we won that night. So,
just following up on what you'd said earlier, it was 17 shootout or overtime losses that led the league. A miserable San Jose team, one fewer than the Flames last year. They also led the league in 1-goal losses. So that does clarify what you were saying earlier. You're due for some regression to the norm there. What are you seeing in Winnipeg? Because I think we all sort of thought, how are they going to, thread this needle of playing with Hellebuck and Scheifele in these UFA years and trade them and get value, and then poof, they're signed to matching 7-year deals. Like, what do you make of the Jets? They got a goalie. They still got Ehlers and Connor. Is there enough?
I think Perfetti, if he can stay healthy, he's a player. You look at the Velarde, the kid they added from LA, he's a really nifty player. Iafallo, I think, is a serviceable guy. I love Adam Lowry. I think could be the best third-line center in the league, plays that role perfectly. I do think now, a lot of times you hear about teams' dysfunction. It's not the on-ice. It sounded to me like they had a real noisy environment. I don't know what that means, and I can't define it. But, when your coach comes out after getting swept the first round of the playoffs and just starts firing bullets at his star players, saying they didn't have it, they didn't, they're basically – it was almost like a character assassination of saying, like, we got some guys in that dressing room that don't want to be here, and, shame on them type of thing. If you read between the lines, it might have been Dubois and it might have been Wheelers. I don't know, or Wheeler. So, I mean, those two have exited and they've moved on. And Wheeler put his time in there. Dubois, obviously, it's well documented, didn't want to be there long term. So, at the end of the day, I think that those contracts calm the masses. And if Ehlers can stay healthy, I think he's an X factor for me because he's kind of a pain in the ass to play against, and he's a pretty nifty player. But he seems to be kind of a Band-Aid in the last 16 months, which, I mean, it sucks because I think he's a really good player. But I think Winnipeg could surprise some people. They were a playoff team last year, and in January, were they not close to the top of the league?
Yeah. They had a miserable tumble in the spring. That really brought the Flames into the race rather than the Flames doing anything. Mm-hmm. Minnesota went on an absolute brutal run.
I remember having an argument on my show because I'd seen them live and I thought they were the best team in Canada. I was watching. I was like, this Morrissey was unbelievable. The goalie was unbelievable. Their D, that Pionk has kind of got some bite and he can handle the puck. I was looking at their depth chart. I'm like, this team might be able to do something. And then they just fell off a cliff. You're right. They brought everybody into that mix to the point where they limped into the playoffs and it was, they were done. But I think that team can do some damage. They might be a little scarier than people think.
Yeah, I guarantee you watched them in the first half of the year because they were good, but it was just awful down the stretch.
Yeah.
Noodles, we appreciate you. Enjoy, I guess, opening night number 2. It feels like today's opening day when the team you cover is in, and obviously here in Calgary, we're ready.
All the Canadian teams.
Yeah, we're
basically all 7 Canadian teams. Yeah, tonight is day 1 of the season for us. Basically, last night was just you know what it is? It was the early bird special at Stampede. So you go out for a few last night. Tonight's where you go hard.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, sneak a peek.
Sneak a peek. That's what it was. I was trying to think of what it was called.
Is that what it's called? Sneak a peek?
Sneak a peek. Yeah. A soft launch.
Yeah. They would go there, sneak a peek and then 12 days later, they would shovel him out. So the sneak a peek, and then they, by the end, they were like, there's a puddle in the corner. You better collect that. So that was it.
Take it all in, right?
Yeah. You're a good man, James. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good week.
There you go. Jamie McLennan joining us on the Insider Hotline presented by TELUS. At TELUS, we're using our world-leading technology to drive meaningful change, from transforming healthcare and making our food supply more sustainable to reducing our environmental footprint and connecting Canadians in need. In 2022 alone, TELUS, our team members and retirees volunteered 1.4 million hours and gave $125 million to local communities, the most giving company in the world. Learn more at TELUS.com/givesback.
We need him on nicknames, Dino.
He doesn't struggle with them.
Rick Cluso is Ville Husso. Jerry Johansson is Eunice Johansson, and Upa Luka Puka. I mean,
you'd need
pretty close to his name.
You'd need to have kind of a catalog of bad 80s movies and stuff to go through. There'll be some movie characters, and
that's the other thing. He loves movies.
Is he a big film head? Okay.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. He'll have a bunch of those that'll probably
one
come
for
over the
AJ
course
Greer
of the year.
him. I feel like he'll have something good there.
You know what? I said yesterday, is it Greersy? I saw on social media Boston did a post. Thanks Greersy for your time. And
God, hockey players are so uncreative. It's the worst nickname league in the world. It's just brutal.
Bastards. Unoriginal. So we'll get to the Pinder report here in a moment. As we sit here on Game 1, I guess I'll start with you, Retro. If somebody were to ask you, so this year, what do we expect? What do you think the Flames are going to do this year? We can tell you they were bad last year and 1-goal losses and overtimes and shootouts, and now this has happened and the coach is different. All of this has changed. They're happy. It's fun. What do you expect this team to do and be this year?
I expect them to be in the mucky middle. They're
Bubble
too
team.
good.
Is that what you're saying?
What's that?
Bubble?
Yeah, they might even make it. I don't think they're going to win like they did 2 years ago. I don't think all the pieces are going to fall into place. They might have better luck and they might have better performances by guys, but I think there's other teams that have improved as well. And I still think they're a mucky middle kind of squad, and playoffs are certainly a possibility, but not a guarantee.
Pinder?
It's tough to argue any of that. I mean, I think there's a significant gap between the Oilers club that we all think are going to win the division, and many have winning the cup, and the defending cup champion. Like, they're not in that class. Mm-hmm. They're significantly better than the Anaheims and San Jose's of the world. And so you kind of get lumped in with, okay, well, what's LA this year? They're going to get goaltending. You know, what's Vancouver? They're due for a big bounce back. Thatcher Demko was awful last year, and he's a great goalie. That's not going to happen again. They've solidified the blue line there. Like, I kind of put them in that group where it's like, yeah, if things go right, you could see this team having a fun season. They're due for better things to happen, but it isn't a juggernaut. It isn't a contender that last year, you know, everything went wrong and they're actually a contender. No, I think they're absolutely that sort of 6 to 10 in the West. And my hope for them is they look more organized defensively. I don't know how you went from allowing the fewest goals 5-on-5 in the league 2 years ago with the exact same decor to look so bad defensively as they did. And I understand goaltending is a part of it, but it was worse than that. It was the quality of chances, the breakaways, the 2-on-1s. How in one season with the same coach and the same defensive system with the same players did they go from the best in the league 5-on-5 to like middle of the pack at best? That's somewhere I'd love to see some gains from this group.
That's a revolt against the coach, I think, which
maybe
doesn't speak well to me of the character of the player, but whatever. The concern for me, I guess, the one thing is we're all saying, well, they're due to have better luck, but they can't have better luck in the injury thing.
Yeah, they already have worse luck. Like, you're already missing Pelche probably for what, Christmas-ish, like just a very vague, like that's already going to be worse than it was for sure.
Mm-hmm. So any injury issues, and that's for any team. If you run,
I think you'd have to think that the power play couldn't be worse. Like, I don't think it's a surprise that Kirk Muller's not here, and I don't think it's a surprise that they're practicing 3-on-3 in practice. Darryl wasn't doing that. Like, they were bad in overtime and they didn't practice overtime. And Darryl would say, well, this isn't going to help us in playoffs. I don't care. But there's a lot of points left on the table in overtime. And I also think they're going to skate a lot better this year. I know you talked about it last year. God, they're slow. They've added a lot of really good skaters. And that doesn't mean they're going to be the fastest team in the league, but I think they'll be faster than average. Coronado can skate really well. Dewar gets a full season, not a mid-season arrival. Sharon Govich can absolutely fly. Toffoli had a great year, but he was one of your worst skaters. Osterley on the back end can skate really well. If you get Shillington at some point, he can skate. I don't worry about their speed as much as I did last year. The Louis Lucic Toffoli thing, like, God, there's some
never made sense to anyone other than one guy, though. So
yeah.
Because I guess the reason I ask, because I agree with you guys, but I wonder, because we sit here, curmudgeons that we are, and we talk about this team more than any other team, and we do it day after day after day. And then you talk to somebody like Frank Seravalli, or you talk to Jamie, or you talk to some other people who are very
models too. Yeah.
Well, they're very much on board with, like, regression to them. There's going to be some bounce back for whatever reason. A lot of things went wrong outside of health. The goaltending, if each of them come this way a little bit, that's going to equate to a significant gain. I just wonder, are we unwilling to buy into the fact that they could, this could be a much better hockey team this year.
But because we only talk about, well, not only, but because we so focus on the Flames, we don't think about, we just talked about Winnipeg. They were in first place in January. Yeah. First place. And I'm in agreement with Noodles. I don't think it was a talent issue with that squad. You lose a coach that basically was like, I clearly can't get these guys to buy in. I'm out. And the next coach is telling them that at the end of the year that guys don't care. It was an attitude issue. So they've got rid of some guys. I can't help but think that's going to make a difference. Right. So
that's the hardest thing to quantify, isn't it, Rhett? Like, we know everyone's happier and feeling better, and there's not this crazy storm cloud. But what's that worth? Like, I can't put a point total on that. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And that'll be the chicken and the egg. If they win more, it's because they're happy. Well, are they winning more because they're happy, or are they happy because they're winning more?
Yeah, we know they go hand in hand. That's true.
Winning is a lot of fun. You can still hate your coach, but wins are enjoyable.
So
I don't know. But I do wonder if maybe, because like you say, mushy middle. They were kind of mushy middle last year, right? They were a bubble team. So if they're better, you would think
third in the Pacific
again. We did this a lot last year. What happened to allow them to be close?
Some teams
was it the fact that they skyrocketed and were unstoppable the last 2 months? No, Winnipeg shit the bed.
At what time?
They still finished with 93 points. Like, that is the thing too. Like, as bad as it was, all those overtime points they donated, the inability to go away from Markstrom even when you knew he was awful, like all the crazy lines, not playing young kids, running with vets, all the weird decisions that didn't make sense. They still got to 93. That's baffling.
At what point of the season Was it at the whatever it was 6-game mark when they were 4-1, 5-1, and then the McDavid goal and that whole thing happened? At what point did we lose faith in the team? Because they win a playoff round the year before, they come in hot start. All right, yeah, they're going to be able to absorb these Tkachuk and Gaudreau losses. This looks like a good team, and then they went on that terrible run. Daryl switches the lines. Daryl goes into war mentality.
Lines before they even went on a terrible.
Yes,
run.
that was the red flag, but that wasn't when people lost faith, because they still were above 500 after that Oilers loss. But it was like, I think we started to hear that the vice was already tight, and they're like 4-1-1 to start or something. You're like, ooh, that doesn't seem right. And Brett was, I believe, sort of November, December. It was like, this ain't it. These guys are not. It's not happening.
And I think you could tell a lot by watching the efforts. It's not always the results, right? Yeah. You can win and for me, you didn't play well in.
They had the soft schedule coming down the stretch, and you got into January and you watched them lose to bad teams and play well against good teams. And that really spoke to more of the mindset of the team than the talent level of the team. And so I remember we kept doing these roundtables for FlamesNation.ca, and Robert Munich was saying, do you think the Flames will still make the playoffs? And, there's the mid-season, there's 3-quarter poll. The soft schedule at one point, finally, it was like, I don't care. They're worse against bad teams than they are against good teams. Like, it's almost a curse that they play Chicago in the last 2 weeks of the season. But I think I was hanging on longer than most. Certainly on this program, I still thought they were going to make the playoffs later into the season than you two. Rhett was probably the first to say something ain't right here.
And I think it was kind of, not to say it was his fault, but you were on, as far as Mackenzie Weegar, you were one of the first guys to kind of throw up the road flare and say, oh, there's something, I'm not seeing it right now. I'm not buying in right now. And it was about that time. It was early. It was like, yeah, there's something not quite right. And then by January, it was full on dysfunction. We would sit in that room. It's like, okay, so how the goaltending and the coach and the power play is no good. And they led in the first shot of the hockey game again, and they get to overtime and can't score or whatever it is. There was just,
and when they came out of that bloody all-star break where they just were awful.
Well, they went into New York and they played a good game there. There's the big Trouba pair of hits and fights. Then Rasmus on that same road trip got hit by a truck, and then it was ugly.
They got dragged. Remember, and we said that. We said, "Oh, here's a game where they're going to rally around," and then it was like
10 times.
Wait a minute,
never did.
That was a Rangers doing thing. This was not a Flames initiated event. Yeah. So,
you could have spun it, but they didn't. Yeah.
That was one of those things. What's the galvanizing moment or turning point for this team? And we were very good at giving them. Here's an opportunity.
By all means,
one of your top defensemen got hit by a truck. That could be something you rally around. Anything, and it just never materialized. So,
the unbiased view for me is always to go look at. Don't ask fans. It's too emotional. It's too close to your heart. And don't ask people in the market, because they see that team more than any other, and they're hyper focused on one team. I looked on Betway today. It's minus 165 they make the playoffs. That was minus 200 at some point this summer, so it's come down a bit, but they're still quite favored to make the postseason. If you want to bet them to miss the playoffs, it's plus 120. So that's, implied probability is they're probably somewhere like 55 to 65%.
Yeah, and I guess that's why I ask, going back to the very start, because you're right. Some Vegas books, they
don't have emotions.
They're okay with them. Different people you follow, Dom or whatever, these guys that have their
models.
There's a lot of people that feel like this is a playoff team, and this is a team.
But the mucky middle does get you to the playoffs sometimes. Right?
Yeah,
like
of course.
6 to 10 is mucky middle. So you're rolling along doing pretty good, and all of a sudden you lose a guy or have 3 bad games. You're like, oh shit.
95 points gets you in most years. Can they be 2 points better than last year? I think the easy answer is yes. Now
I want 4 or 5 better, please.
Oh yeah, please, by all means, be 5 points, 10 points better. Because do you look at all those overtimes and 1-goal losses, and like, God, this goalie, what's going on between his ears? Because this is not the guy that finished second in Vezina voting last season. There's a lot of room to get more points, but I think the division's a lot better. I think Edmonton is better than they were, believe it or not. Vegas, they are what they are. We know they're good. They're a good contender to win the division every year. LA has gone and really bulked up down the middle with the addition of Pierre-Luc Dubois. They bring in Gavrikov and re-sign him after they got him at the deadline. Vancouver's absolutely better. Retool blue line and a bounce back from Demko, and they're in the mix. Like, this might be the best division in hockey now with the steps back that we expect from Florida and Tampa with injuries, and Boston with the retirements of Krejci and Bergeron. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacific teams end up being the best against the rest of the league at the end of the year.
It's a game day. Let's get to the Pinder Report. It's a presentation of Village Honda, located in the Northwest Auto Mall, online at villagehonda.com. Huge selection of used vehicles, new and used, but in the pre-owned. All makes, all models, all budgets. Over 70 units on site, access to more than 400 more inside the dealership group. Your one-stop automotive destination in Calgary. Your dealership for life is Village Honda, and presents the Pinder Report.
For life, we start with the Calgary Flames season opener, fellas. Let's have a peek at the group that will take to the ice at the Dome tonight at 8 o'clock against the Winnipeg Jets. We'll be at Greta watching this one. There's your lines, boys. Huberdeau and Lindholm together at last. Dino, it's been, it feels like about game 6 last year that they got broken up. Dylan Dubé, the speedster on the right side. These are the same lines we talked about yesterday. Sharangovich finds a home with Kadri and the rookie Coronado, who played game 82, and that's it. Is on the right side of that line. It's the tried, trusted, and true Mangiapane, Backlund, Coleman line is the third line, and a very different looking fourth line than last year at this time. Greer, Rosie, Walkaday, with Dryden Hunt serving your 13th forward roles. D pairs are interesting. I don't know that they'll stick with them, guys. They haven't used their top 4 in their top 4. They're spreading it out a bit. You see Tanev on the third pair playing with Osterley. I think stylistically that's probably a good fit and a safe place for Osterley to be. But it also puts 2 high-event players together in Zadorov and Weegar as your second pair. We were a little weary about the Zadorov roller coaster when he got into the top 4-minute zone. So we'll see how that goes.
I see a grimace there in Buffalo. I see.
Hanif and Anderson's your top pair.
What do you see there?
I look like that. To me, that looks like a pairing that could struggle.
Yeah, and what they also ran with in the preseason was Weegar, Anderson, Hanif, and Tanev. And I don't think either of those 2 pairs can struggle. Those are 4 very good defensemen. Those are 4 clear-cut top 4D. Is Zadorov and Osterley a thing that won't work? Is it because they're both lefties? Are you trying to shelter those 2? I wonder how we arrived here and how long we stay here.
That is curious, right? Because it's game 1. This isn't we're going to send a message to Chris Tanev or whatever it's going to be. We're going to reward Nikita Zadorov. I don't think there's going to be any of that. This is game number 1. So they obviously see something they think can work here. Maybe they're right, but it feels a bit like a pinball machine, that middle pair, potentially.
And Weegar is a right shot guy that can play both sides and played a lot on the right, not last year, but prior in Florida. So we'll see. Maybe they think he's better on the right side. There's some questions to be answered there as the season begins. In net, it's a Markstrom start. That's confirmed today. No surprise there. The real question will be, how much of the net does he share? Is this going to be 60-40? Is this a back and forth out of the gate?
Last year it was great.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Say that again. What did you say? You did what last year?
No, they had a plan last year. It was Daryl came in. This is how it's going to be.
Lasted 2 weeks, but they did have a plan. It's 2 weeks in a row.
Christ, they didn't see Halloween.
Yeah. Just another weird un-Daryl-y thing that happened last year. Oddly. Power plays look like this, fellas. This is very different looking than last year.
Fellas.
They lose a right shot guy in Tyler Toffoli, but fear not, friends. Matthew Coronado on the top power play unit. Maybe hearing more about him in my Betway Bets of the Day later. Kadri, Lindholm, Anderson, Huberdeau. There's your first unit with Coronado. Second unit, Rosie, Backlund, Dubé, Hanifin, Mangiapane.
Net front presence, big body.
Guys, stay out. Take the full 2. I don't love that second unit. I've never loved Hanifin on the power play. I think Weegar could do a better job there. And Rosie, huh? Okay, we'll see.
I'm a little surprised there.
There's room for tweaking. Savvy knows what he's doing, right? He just wants to see it against real opponents.
Let's go, Savvy.
Typical forward. Put a bunch of forwards on the ice. It'll be better.
Yeah.
You want to hear some, because it was a miserable run on opening nights, Dino. I don't know if you remember, until last year. What did they opened up against Colorado, I think, and beat the Avs to open their season last year. It was a good. They won their home open. That was like the exception to the rule. They'd lost like 13 of 14 prior to that. It was an absolute miserable run on opening nights. That streak's over. One team they'd love to emulate. Have a look at what happened to the 1989 Calgary Flames in their season opener. It was a one for the record books, Rhett. Just a smooth 10 goals for the Flames on opening night in 89. Only one team scored more than 10 on opening night. It was the Montreal Canadiens in 1919, Rhett, which I know you're a big fan of that squad.
Great lineup, that squad.
Lyle Odeline's rookie year, I think. Yeah.
Bootsy McGillicuddy was so good that year.
That's right. As for other opening night trends, Flames better be careful because it was Brian Rust last night, third season opener in a row he scored. Only one guy in the league has scored more consecutive season openers. Yeah, it's Kyle Connor of the Jets. 5 season opening goals in a row. Look for that in your Betway bets later on the program.
Sure. Yeah.
Last night, Pittsburgh made a little history. I didn't know about this one, and leave it to ESPN, the American sports outfit, to find it. But a trio playing together. Look at that. Gino, Sid, and Letang passing Jeter, Rivera, and Jorge Posada. That was a pretty iconic trio in New York for the Pinstripes, Dino, as you would know. And the Penguins now passing them 18 years together, that trio, Letang, Crosby, and Malkin.
I like that pick. I love Malkin. He just looks like he's going to be a great old grumpy Russian man. Just some big kind of old grumpy bear. He just
put it back up, Jacko.
He's just kind of got that. Oh, you want to take a picture? All right.
Okay,
yeah.
fine. One
okay,
more
smile. Yeah.
18th year I've been doing photos. What the
about this shit. Hurry up. Let's go. I got things to do. I got places to be. What do you want?
On the right, little scowl.
Hey, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
It's an outdoor game. I'm cold. My balls are cold. Can we go inside? Christ. Let's go.
First goal of the season last night went to Nikita Kucherov. Calgary product Braden Point. 3 helpers in the season opening game. The matinee start in this mountain time zone, fellas. Good to see Point off to a great start. He, Stamkos, and Kucherov, that top line in Tampa. And they were defending like they had Jonas Johansson in net. Allowed 2 shots in the first period.
Jerry. Jerry Johansson.
The shots got a little evener and closer, and it was a tie game, and they were trailing, and then they ended up winning. So Tampa wins the opener. It was Bedard opening against Crosby and company, and it was a 2-0 lead for the Penguins that they blew against the Blackhawks. Kind of reminds us of last year down the stretch when the Penguins would get in the playoffs. If only they could beat the Blackhawks. They couldn't, and instead Florida got into the playoffs. Lol. We'll see how it works with Carlson there, fellas. It looked a little disjointed with him and Letang trying to coexist on the same power play. He needs puck.
Puck hog.
Well, he is, but he's like the best defensive puck hog of our lives. I don't know if you need Letang on the ice when he's out there. You need 2 pucks. See how that goes. Okay, elsewhere, Connor Bedard. Watch the zone entry before he gets his first NHL point.
God. We're really doing it.
Well, it's a pretty play. I mean, this is the tail end of it. It's a little drop pass that ends up being his assist. Not much there. It's the zone entry that really skill. Like
I didn't see it. No.
It happened so like it was seamless.
It will happen here. We'll let this reload again. But
right.
Bedard gets an assist. That's his only point in his NHL debut. Not the foregoing Matthews debut.
Was it too much? Like him and Crosby sitting. Did you see that, or was that?
Yeah,
it's a little forced, given that was like a month ago in Vegas or whatever, right?
I get it though, right? It's
you're trying to sell the sport in the U.S. Top selling jersey since
my kids made fun of it. That's why I brought it up. I was like,
"Oh yeah,
even the kids aren't."
I'll tell you what, though, those Chicago jerseys,
great jersey.
Jeez, they're good, man. I don't know which one I like better, the home or the roads.
Too bad he couldn't have ended up in San Jose.
You'll see it on Betway that you can gamble or wager on shot totals for games, and it's typically like 2.5, 3.5. So I'll take Coronado over 2.5, Mangiapane under 3.5. 11 shot attempts for Bedard, 6 scoring chances, 5 shots. Just an ability to always get the puck to scoring areas. Impressive.
You know what's nice is we don't hate him yet.
Yes, that's correct.
Right? It's just a young guy. Hey, look at this.
Out of division, but in conference.
Good little hockey player. Gosh, he's going to be great.
He's not in Edmonton.
Yeah, there's no real. Well, maybe in Pittsburgh already they're a little sour, but we don't hate him yet.
Yeah.
Remember these good times.
Yeah.
Good times.
Night game was Vegas against Seattle, the good-looking expansion jersey matchup, and Vegas looked good, fellas. They also did a very Vegas-y thing. Look how they got their Stanley Cup banner up to the rafters, Retro.
The honor is yours.
So this is Mark Stone, the captain. They built a big slot machine at ice level that's dwarfing the Stanley Cup that he's carried out onto the ice.
They are so good at their stuff.
Yeah, and it never comes across as too much for whatever reason. Maybe it's just because it's Vegas.
It's because it's Vegas. Anywhere else,
Yeah.
it would be what?
If you did this in Toronto, you'd get destroyed.
And silly.
So yeah,
they hit the and then
slot machine's paying out. Look at that. Flames have something like this going on tonight, right?
Remember when we didn't hate Vegas? Similarly, right? When they started, look at
before
these.
They ran Marc-Andre Fleury and company.
That's nice. Look
Totally.
at Marc-Andre Fleury and now
the Stanley Cup banner gets raised out of a slot machine because, of course, it does. It's Vegas.
Yeah,
they look good. Aiden Hill looked good. They're still tenacious and deep and hard hitting.
Wow, they raised the frickin' banner. They should look good. There should be some emotion that goes.
Yeah, that's true. Or it's like we came out flat because we've been doing interviews and cup stuff. I mean, either way, it was one game and they look good. They got 81 left before we really care.
They are good too.
They are good.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move from there. Ticket prices around the league. This may or may not surprise you. Imagine all the goodwill that you've got in Florida after your team goes all the way to the Cup final, Rhett. I mean, it must just be booming business for the Panthers. Let's take a look at season opening prices for all 32 NHL teams. Nope, last $19. Florida. What the hell are we doing here?
So that's like just cheapest, get you in the door.
Cheapest ticket, and that's probably American currency, and this was a couple days ago. It ain't perfect, but I think it paints a picture. Flames second from the bottom, and also what you're seeing is two of the larger rinks in the league in Florida and Calgary as well. You're not getting into Winnipeg for cheap because there's only 16,000 seats or whatever it is, right? But either way, a lot of people were in Vegas last night, the most expensive opener, because of course the Stanley Cup was there and they raised the banner. The usual standards at the top: New York, Toronto, Boston, Montreal. Original 6 teams and top 5 revenue teams in the league. Interesting.
You know what, though, at the same time, it's not to just be shrugged off. You can get to Flames games for not a crazy amount of money in the press level. You can go to a game and
I don't think, don't take that for granted, right? The new rink isn't going to have $30 tickets. Like, I assure you of that. They don't build new profit centers with really, really cheap seats. They'll have less capacity and everything will be more expensive.
Yeah.
It's about making money. Don't be so enjoy, right? Go to these games.
Winning cups, you mean?
Yeah, all the cups. Yeah. Raising banners, the tickets will get really expensive.
Yeah, I hope they build the banner, the pillars and all that, the framing. Make it nice and long to make sure that
lots of space.
Lots of space there.
Well, you're gonna have to retire Huberdeau and Kadri's numbers too, so they need lots of room up there. How can the tickets be the same as the parking? Where are you parking? Come on now. You can do better than that.
That's amazing.
Okay. Good news for your old pal, Retro. Lindy Ruff. New deal.
Weren't they booing him out of there at the start of last year?
Yeah.
Fire Lindy. Lindy.
Think about that playoff series against the Rangers. They fall in that 0-2 hole at home. It's like you just farted away home ice. You're in an 0-2 hole against your dreaded rivals. But this team's going to be good this year, fellas. Like really, really good, especially if Akira Schmid or Vitek Vanacek want to look like a legit number one. Schmid had that incredible playoff baptism. All kinds of skill, all kinds of depth. And Tyler Toffoli on the top line with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt. Interesting.
A very different New Jersey team than the one that you faced in your first game, Retro.
Yes, quite.
Yeah.
It's a different style for sure.
So one had a known netminder and an identity around the netminder. This one is the exact opposite. We have a star young center, and no one's heard of our goalie. Interesting. Schedule tonight looks like this, fellas. All 7 Canadian teams in action. Love that. And Carolina will host Ottawa in Raleigh. The Sens are going to roll with 19 skaters. That is one below what you're supposed to do. I believe if they do that a couple of games, they can get an emergency recall. Already the Sens into emergency recalls, and they haven't yet signed Shane Pinto. How's that going? At least the team's better. Montreal, Toronto.
Can you be an emergency situation when you put yourself there because of spending or
Yes, we
you know?
hello, officer, I've shot myself. There's an emergency. Was it an accident? No.
No,
It's still an emergency, though. I need an ambulance.
I guess so.
Always good to see Habs Leafs, 100-year plus rivalry. No rest for Connor Bedard and that welcome to the NHL tour. He's in Boston for their season opener. It'll be the Avalanche and Kings and the Oilers and Canucks as well. And Noodles is right. It's going to be overreaction Thursday tomorrow for all 7 Canadian markets. Of course, the Jets and Flames, 8 o'clock start in the Saddle Dome tonight. And we'll be at Greta Bar. Come join us. It's a charitable donation. It's a gift bag. It's $30 of arcade money and all kinds of drink and food specials. And Rhett will sign bras, undergarments, jerseys. What's your policy on signing things, Rhett?
Any and all.
Babies.
Any and all. So he's equal opportunity.
Yeah, he is in fit. It's good that way. He's a good boy.
I got some of these Joe Boxers, Rhett. Could you give these a sign? Quick Siggy. Pass.
My Sharpie's broken.
So we haven't talked about it a lot, and he's so incredibly humble, we wouldn't hear about it. But Dean's fantasy football team, Rhett, is off to an impeccable 5-0 start to the season.
Yeah, they crushed me on the weekend.
Let's have a look at a couple of the reasons why he's been so excellent this year. Now, is this his team or is this I'm heading to the injured reserve list? Uh-oh. HN and Jefferson. Dino, I'm sorry. We're going to have to test your depth here. Both those guys will be on the IR, missing at least 4 weeks.
I actually drafted HN.
Yeah, that's good. You did, and Jefferson, you had first overall. You took him. You didn't
First
go
overall,
running back. You didn't go McCaffrey.
Jefferson. And you know, wide receiver 1.
Yep.
Good. Lived up to the billing. HN.
Yep.
Got him late. Running back 3. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, unstartable for half, but the other half, he's the best in the league. It's been
the last
quite
3
impressive. Yeah.
Friggin' weeks got.
And HN's really been held under control. 50-yard run, HN.
Just terrible.
Well, you know, if Breece Hall wants to be a boy, then
he did last week.
Maybe we can absorb it.
If you can play the Broncos every week, I'm with you.
I'm playing Derek Willis. I got Derek Willis this week. I was really hoping that HN could stick it in his keister, being a Dolphins fan, but I guess that's not going to happen.
That would have been good. I'd have been okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. T's and P's to Willis because that's
T's and P's,
emotional. With HN going to now. Jeff Wilson Jr. eligible to come off the IR, so we'll see how that looks with Mostart.
J.
Baseball. 3 Major League Baseball games today, fellows, as the Houston Astros can punch their ticket into the American League Championship Series, where, well, somebody already awaits, as the Orioles got beat by Texas. So Texas is through. We could have an all-state of Texas battle, Astros-Rangers, if the Astros get a win tonight. Texas. Braves Phillies, that is a scene switch to Seravalli is going to be bombed at this thing tonight. What are the odds on that? Can I get a minus 200 on Betway for that?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, those Philly crowds, they've had a fun couple years, right? That
minus the hockey, yeah.
Yeah. I don't
so
mind
the Sixers, you got one, maybe the best player in the league. Phillies won and are great again. Eagles, undefeated. Great season last year. And the Flyers, they're awful.
Torts. He'll figure it out.
Oof.
I really like Gritty.
Yeah, Gritty's good.
I think Philly, I don't know what the Eagles are doing, but between the Fanatic and Gritty, 2 of the best going in all of pro sports.
That's true. Dodgers D-backs, the other contest tonight. LA and an 0-2 hole on the road. See what you're made of here, fellas. Dodgers are normally, they do kind of choke in the playoffs every year.
It's enough of Dodgers. It's enough.
You done?
Yeah.
Got some Dodger fatigue?
Yeah.
Remember the AL East, that toughest division in baseball? Gosh, there's so many good teams there. Oh, my goodness. Blue Jays didn't get a win. Tampa Bay Rays, they also got swept. And the Orioles, they got swept.
Yeah.
Ooh. Fellas. Rough look. No one's going to listen to your best division in baseball argument if you go 0-for-6 in playoff, 0-for-7 in playoff games. Good night. Finally, Cavalry FC will host their playoff game on Saturday. We'll hear from Nick Ledgerwood later in the program, but we got some more pictures coming out from that ruckus party on the field where they lift the shield for the regular season title.
Oh,
Look at Tommy there. Oh, my goodness. Could we mix in a few waters here, Tommy?
He looks like some sort of a warrior. He should be wearing a loincloth and holding a sword or something.
Yeah, there's Mel Gibson to his right yelling, "Hold the line." Yeah.
Anything, Tommy. You dress so sharp. Don't ruin it.
Yeah, it's careful on those shoulders there. You can really, the seam work's going to get tested there. And it is the Village Honda Pinder Report. Would you believe our boy Anthony also got a picture with the shield? How about this?
Look at that.
There he is, the Cavs hat. His wife Britt on the right, and I believe that's Tofa Fakunle, who does some work with the club as well.
Watch your mouth.
On the left, who used to play for the club.
Look at that.
Look at that. Isn't that a good looking shield? I like that. Silver and gold, baby.
You know how much cheese and garlic sausage you could put on that one, Retro?
Man, the charcuterie you could line up on that thing.
Oh man.
Woo. Big
blocks
time.
and blocks of cheese. Got some marble cheese on there, some pickles, and some crackers and some kubasa. You'd impress all your guests if you had that as your charcuterie board.
Yeah, that could be a centerpiece of Bologna Fest, no doubt.
I mean, that guys let dogs eat shit out of the Stanley Cup. I can have a charcuterie board off of that, right?
I can assure you there's been worse things out of the Stanley Cup.
Oh,
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
not going to have to worry about that. 3 o'clock Saturday start, and watch our social streams for contesting today for you to win a pair of tickets to their punch ticket to the semifinal Saturday at 3. That's your Pinder Report, fellas. Look at Tony, big smile.
Brought to you by Village Honda. New in-stock inventory on the ground, more arriving daily. Start your automotive adventures at Village Honda. New vehicle pricing is MSRP. Most satisfying. Really primo.
Major scumbag Ryan Pinder.
Yeah.
MSRP.
Something like that. Something like that. Now it's October 11th. And usually around this time of year, hockey season starts.
Yeah.
So for McLeod Law, I went looking at kind of a lot of things that have happened on this day. Now we usually kind of do the Flames related stuff, but this one, in the spirit of Connor Bedard making his NHL debut last night and getting into your first hockey game, that sort of thing, that's where we'll go today. It is a presentation of our friends over at McLeod Law. Peter Klein and the folks over there taking care of you. We can't say enough about them. He's the go-to guy for your disability insurance claims, but also it's he's a personal injury guy. He can do it all for you. If this long-term disability insurance company is kind of giving you the old run around, it's like, I'm tired of these guys. I'm getting Peter Klein. And they're like, okay, whoa, hey, can we talk? You mean the Peter Klein from McLeod Law? He will go to work. He will get you the disability benefits you paid for and that you deserve. He'll get your peace of mind back, the peace of mind that you paid for. Peter Klein, everybody over at McLeod Law, the very best, McLeod-law.com. Now, before we roll this, I think this might be, everyone will know who this player is. Obviously, he's one of the greatest to ever play. But you may forget that this took place for Mario Lemieux. And we can take a look. So Mario Lemieux, 1984, makes it was on this date in 1979. Ray Bourque plays his first NHL game. Goal
79?
1979.
Wow. What? He played into the 2000s. Didn't he win his cup in 2000 or around then with Colorado?
Yes. He played forever. Jeez. He is, honestly, you talk about defense, and maybe it's because he played in Boston for so long, so far. Underrated, underappreciated how good he was. That year, he won the Calder Trophy. I think he had 16, 17 goals. 4-0 Boston beat Winnipeg. Shocker. He had a goal and an assist in his first game. Also in 79, Hartford Whalers come over from the WHA. Gordie Howe plays in the NHL 9 years after retiring from the NHL. Becomes the only player to play a league game after being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. And he played for a long time too. I don't know if you knew that about Gordie. Yeah. 1975 retro. How's this for a game number one for old Sasker Brian Trottier?
Oh.
Brian Trottier, only a hat trick and 2 helpers in game number one.
That's a
7-0. The Islanders beat the LA Kings.
Val Marie?
Yes. Yeah. Somewhere right now, Trotier's got the guitar out. He's singing, having a hell of a time, entertaining some people. Luke Robitaille hit 1,000 points on this date. Jaromir Jagr played his first game for the Flames on this date in 2017.
How do you not lead with that? Talk about burying the lead.
Yeah, well.
One of the Ray Bourque stats that does him justice, because you're right, he kind of doesn't get talked about as like a top 10 to 15 player all time, and I think you probably should talk about him more in that. All-time shots, number 2. What?
Yeah.
Shots. He had more shots than Wayne. He had more shots than Jagers. He had more like a D-man, no less.
And those were much like people in Calgary will feel maybe would have had more success were it not for an Edmonton Oilers team. The Bruins probably, they were in that vortex as well because they lost to the Oilers. And when they had Neely and Wesley and Ray Bourque, and those were great Boston teams then.
Yeah, Oates.
Adam Oates.
Oh, sorry, guys. We're the 80s Oilers. We just don't lose very often.
Sure.
So there you go. Mario Lemieux, first game, first shift, first goal on this date. McLeod Law, proud of the Calgary roots that they have established, a big part of their long-standing client relationships. They understand this city, the people in it, and the way things work, like the communities that they serve. The McLeod Law team is varied and diverse and share a commitment to making a positive impact on the city of Calgary. McLeod Law, our events partner here at Barn Burner. Good friends over at McLeod Law. We can't say enough about them. Truly, whatever, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you know what's coming. You know, like if you're getting a divorce or something, it's like, oh, things are a little rocky. You know, get McLeod Law and retainer. Just have them stand by. Or maybe some things happen just right out of the blue and it's like, geez, I need a lawyer now. McLeod Law. I don't know why that came to mind. Everything's fine. Don't worry. Everything's fine.
How's the woman that you live with?
I don't know.
You don't know. Sure. Check in. It's a good thing to do.
Yeah, I suppose. Now, we didn't really talk about this, and I don't want to do it if we're not prepared. But we do some bold predictions.
Yeah.
Prior to the season. I sense that maybe
tomorrow.
We're the worst.
Yeah.
If people knew, we're the worst. Warner is flying to Calgary today. Didn't know if he was 8 hours
2 days ago.
Like,
I'm still not convinced that it makes any sense at all.
It doesn't. You know what? Honestly, it doesn't. Like, it really doesn't. To come home for
people want to see Rhett.
Yeah, for half of it, and then leave to do Afterburner.
If the flight, if the flight's on time, is my
fly in for a period of hockey. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Bye, and then leave on Friday.
I have a solution. We can do Afterburner from Greta. It's been pitched.
It's hardly if it now again, this is an off-air conversation on air. If this is on the air or whatever, there were two things that you were weighing. It's this or it's that.
It should
this being Greta, then it should be that.
Well, I threw it out there. Pinder's all wound up about this. The reason I'm not there today and earlier is because Grandma and Grandpa are here and I couldn't leave. So that's why the flight. I'm joining them on their flight home, or else I would have been there earlier this week. But anyway,
could have a retro in studio on Thursday tomorrow. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, for one day. Yeah. Or let's plan stuff around the other big thing that's coming later this month.
Definitely not doing both.
Pick wisely.
Hey fellas, you know what's back at the Griegel this year? The Halloween Howler.
Ooh.
Over at the Grey Eagle Event Center, get ready. Our buddies over at CJ92. I don't mind giving them boys a little bit of love. Hey, boys over there do a hell of a job. Halloween Howler, Billy Talent, Gob, and the congregation at the Event Center, October 28th, 8 p.m.
Ooh.
You need to be 18 years of age. All right.
I would think so.
General admission, but you're going to have to be 18. Tickets from you know what? Ticketmaster. It's general admission. Just go to Ticketmaster.ca for all events that are at the Grey Eagle. And there are other things. Randy Bachman is coming up on Friday, I believe. Bachman from Bachman Turner Overdrive. And the Guess Who.
Winnipeg, represent.
This is when I would throw out something like, oh, yeah. Springsteen, he's great.
Right. And, Randy Bachman from, of course, from the Beatles.
Randy Bachman and Pete Townsend from The Who. Oh, it's the Guess Who, you third. So the Halloween Howler, it's a hit every year. It's legendary. Get your tickets, Ticketmaster.ca, like all events at the Griegle. Good times to be had by all. So there you go.
Yeah. Dressing up makes a party better. Pretty much undefeated. Dress up parties, Rhett.
We'll have some tickets to give away. Coming up.
That's another one. Yeah. That's a toga party because everyone's just sick of them after a few hours. Romans knew how to throw down. Ticketmaster.ca, Rhett.
Yeah. Ticketmaster.ca.
That's what I'm checking right now.
So are you coming? Or are you staying?
It's the day before the other thing. Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at our Betway bets. Hey, Betway, get that Betway app in your phone. Bet the responsible way with Betway. I love my Betway app. It's a part of my Sundays. Now it's full. It's full on. Hockey season is ready. They've got, you can go in and you can do the hunting. And for some people say, well, I don't know. There's all kinds of options in there. You go to
I saw Carolina app. Plus 250 to win the Metro. I'm like,
spoiler. I like Carolina. How
could you not? Every year for 5, they've been excellent.
Like their coach.
That's like more than triple your money. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I could start us off if you'd like with our
Fire away, buddy. Hit lead off.
And again, I went in, found one that I liked, and then found another one that was already built. The Jets are the WPJs.
Yeah,
are at the CGYs.
Oh boy.
Over 1.5 power play goals. This is combined. This is for the game. You mentioned the Kyle Connor stat earlier. He scores.
He does.
I think these two teams will combine for 2 or more power play goals.
Really? Okay.
Plus 140. I think it might be a Connor goal on the one side and a Matt Coronado power play goal on the other side.
You are singing from the same hymn book, fella. I like that. I'm feeling. Talk about your other one.
And then the other one, it's kind of listed here as a parlay. It's the same bet. Yep. There's one bet. You don't need to combine them.
Special.
It's a special. Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid, both to score 1 or more goals, plus 200.
Be rude if they didn't.
That's pretty good plus money for
Triple
guys
your
that
money?
are
yeah,
pretty good, notable goal scorers and superstars in the NHL.
Pugilists.
So that's right. Yeah. They are plus money on both of my bets. Those are my Betway bets of the day.
All right. I got some of the similar vibes. We noted the Kyle Connor stat. The number isn't great, but like you got
That's not bad. That's not bad. He would be the guy, right? Who's going to lead the Jets in goals this year?
Yeah, it's probably him.
It's probably him.
And it's not that he's not a goal scorer. Like he's a guy that you think can get to 40 if he has a good year. It's just that if you start extrapolating plus 40, it's like they're basically saying he's going to score 70. But it's also opening night. He always scores opening night. So
it's his thing.
Yeah. So plus 140, we're going to keep his streak alive. It'd be 6 years in a row he scores in the opener if he gets one tonight. So we're going to stick with Connor on that one.
Thanks for the karma, by the way.
Yeah.
Great karma.
Yeah. Matt Coronado, first goal of the game. Check out this big game hunting.
Plus
2,200. Hey, Rook, have a hot start, would you? Maybe Neil Pionk hooks someone down in the opening shift. Power play gets out. Savvy's got those guys cooking. Right shot Coronado. Zing, 22-1.
Savvy.
Love that.
Everybody loves Savvy, eh? Everyone's excited.
Telling jokes, keeping it loose around there. It was not loose last year.
No, it was not
loose. Soon to lose a couple games. It's too loose.
You know what? They're having too much fun. They're not taking it serious.
Throwing her out all the time.
There you see it. 19 or over in Ontario. Bet the responsible way with Betway, our buddies at Betway. Taking care of you, taking care of us. Awesome. It's so great. This is a great time of year. Yeah. Obviously, now the hockey's in, playoff baseball. Sports, buddy. NFL is in full swing.
NBA, it's rolling too here.
My bells are ringing.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, and you get CFL playoffs pretty quick here. Stamps and your boys with a big one. Retro.
This weekend.
They actually
like
made
win
the
and you
The Bills?
they actually could make the playoffs. How bad is this league if you could go like 5-12?
I-
Ryan,
I
Ryan,
haven't heard a word about
5-13.
either of those teams. I thought they.
I know. That's what I mean. They're like lost seasons. Oh, they're going to get in.
there's no need to speak disparagingly about the Canadian Football League. It's not necessary.
Love the players. Love the game.
Love
Don't
Bender.
need 5-6 win seasons.
I think that should be a goal for us. We're heading into season number 2 of Barn Burner.
Mm.
Let's really ramp up the positivity. Let's really bring it up.
We'll leave that in your court there.
Yes.
A glass half full.
Let's really try for a change to, enjoy ourselves.
Some levity.
Yeah.
Well, if we need levity, it's what we're missing from the old shop. We need the sound effects. If we have that, then we've got levity. Until we solve that problem.
Oh my God.
I got a few.
You're boring everybody.
Levity isn't right. Let's just have some positive energy. People that watch the show, that come here, it's like, you know what? Those guys are having such a great time. They clearly get along. They're good buddies.
they're
talking
really
about
good friends.
sports.
Yeah.
They definitely hang out together
All the
when they're
time.
not doing that show. They really kind of boost my spirits. My day gets a bit of a jolt in the upward direction because of Barn Burner.
There you go. It's a great day for hockey.
Hey.
It's in Badger Bob right in the comments there.
Get your helmet on. It's a great day for hockey. Yeah.
And your jersey.
Tomorrow on the program, it's Thursday. Don't know where Rhett will be, but we will have Ask Rhett.
I'll be somewhere.
Rhett will be somewhere and fielding your questions. If you have a question that you would like Rhett Warner to answer, then you can email the show at the email address askrhett@flamesnation.ca. That's askrhett@flamesnation.ca. A presentation of Bonton Meat Market, Calgary tradition since 1921. It is Bonton season, eh?
Oh, big time. Yeah.
I was thinking of just going and say, you know what? Hook me up with some part of a cow. I don't know, half, quarter, front half, back half. I don't know. But it's time to I'm going to go into my freezer. I'm going to take everything out. And I'm not putting any of it back in. I'm going to defrost it and just start fresh and only put some beef in there from Bonton and some poultry perhaps as well.
Get ready for the winter, man.
What you've done that before? Or do you just kind of, you don't specify, I need a quarter. It's just, I need roasts. I want steaks.
I've done both with Greg, but typically I order I know exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Ribeyes, fillets, chicken, baby backs, a couple briskets, a couple chuck roasts. I know I got a breakdown.
Yeah.
Some beef cheeks.
He has an order. Remember last year we unveiled his order?
Yeah, it was special.
Man's a weapon.
I'm starving.
Yeah, me too.
It's a rainy day here in Calgary. What would you do with Bonton? Rainy weather. Soup? Soup day?
Soup would be good. You should have carcass left over from the weekend. So you should have
perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Today's
some gravy left over.
Kind of busy. Got some stuff to do later.
Turkey gravy bun today, Dino?
I've had a lot. I've had a lot of them. I'm out. The white buns, I fired some over to my nephew, as I told you, and the rest of them they were quickly
ticket
devoured. Hot ticket is right. Gosh, I love food. So hungry right now.
So positive.
So
See
positive.
how positive you are.
So
gotta have
positive.
great topics.
So yeah, that's email the show, askrhett@flamesnation.ca. We'll do Ask Rhett tomorrow. Any predictions before we say hello to Nick Ledgerwood of Cavalry FC? Any thoughts?
I don't have a prediction. I have a request. Please, 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 gods of hockey, don't let us have to go through another POS season like we did last year. That was an absolutely miserable death march. Anything else, please? Anything, please, please, please. That's it.
My ask would be what you just said, that positivity you talked about for us. Send that down to the dome.
Yeah.
So that they can be positive and show up and try.
Oh, I think it's brimming over there. I really
they haven't lost a game yet. Yeah. If they could stay into the season, that'd be key.
They are no different than any other team in the league, maybe aside from Pittsburgh today.
That's true.
Everyone else, there are 31 other teams still positive. So I want the positivity throughout the year.
Because that really was what happened last year. We were doing, and we'll talk about Afterburner good in the comments while she was asking. It was us doing either this show or Afterburner, our post-game show, and trying to fight full-on negativity and just despair. And
but
everybody else,
hey, a spade.
Hey,
right?
man, they can still make it math. Like, yes,
but I just watched them lose to St. Louis, who has no business being in the same rink.
They blew a 2-goal lead in the third. Oh, they lost to Chicago again. Chicago's the lowest score in the team, and they're averaging 4 a game against the Flames. Like, oh my God, don't make us do that again. Please, please, please.
Because we did is there a chance? Well, you know what? There's maybe a chance. And the next game, they may as well have been wearing snowshoes.
You said it the other day.
Straight shit.
They won in Dallas in dramatic fashion. They had to play a back-to-back on the road with no rest in Minnesota the next night. They get a goal called back in overtime and then win it in the shootout, a rare post-regulation win for 4 points in 2 nights on the road. They come home to face the lowly Ducks, and you may as well have taken a dump at center ice. It was embarrassing just when you thought they were back in.
Yeah.
Ducks.
All season.
The
Ducks.
Ducks.
Yes. The bleeping Ducks.
Kessler. He got us again.
It wasn't Kessler.
It wasn't, but
Getzlaff.
it's always
wasn't
Kessler.
Perry. It wasn't Jaguar.
It's that jersey. It's that Ducks jersey. PTS and Corey Perry. God, Perry's not even playing there anymore. Perry screwed us. So yes, Afterburner. Now we kicked it into gear about halfway through last year. Afterburner is our post-game show. After every Flames game, you can come to our YouTube channel and we will have some post-game reaction for you. So it's serving 2 purposes. If you want to watch live and take in some post-game, you can do that. Or by all means, download the podcast on your phone or however you do it, wherever you get your podcasts, and you listen to it in your car, your vehicle, on the way, maybe in your headphones, on the bus, whatever you're doing. It's there for you, fresh Afterburner / barn burner content for you for the ride to work the next day. So that's how that's going. We
all 82
start
games
tonight.
We got a weekend crew that's going to be kicking some serious butt on Friday and Saturday nights. Excited to unveil them later on, and it'll be at least one of us dopes on probably 2 of us dopes school nights, all 82.
That's right.
Love it.
Got the Origin boys over your shoulder there. Origin Brewing, they're on board.
No, here. Look,
yeah, right there.
Right there. Yeah. And here.
Yeah, there they are.
Oh, yeah. Cheers to the game. So if they win, I might give them a 23 beer salute.
I was going to say,
fellas.
If the wins start happening, we're going to have to be stocking that sucker up. It's far too convenient for you there. Enjoy the game. We'll be back tomorrow in some way, shape, or form. We'd love to see you at Greta tonight.
Please
Greta.
do. It's an amazing deal. You're giving money to charity. You're getting $30 in arcade money for $20. You're also getting a swag bag with some Flames Nation gear and food and drink discounts to watch the game.
Yeah, they got some specials going tonight. The atmosphere is awesome. And especially if you've either never heard of Greta or you've heard of Greta and never been, it's kind of its own thing. There's nothing quite like Greta. You should definitely come by. Buy tickets at Nation Gear or show up, right? Yeah. You're going to be able to show up and take part in what
$20.
213 10th Avenue Southwest is the location of Greta. We'll see you tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Pinder, a little get together here with Nick Ledgerwood. Oh, Nicky Ledgerwood.
Earlier this morning.
Is he Scottish or?
He's Canadian. Right. Played for Canada 50 times. Here he is earlier this morning.
See you tomorrow.
Let's go Cavs. Season it's been for Cavalry FC. Lucky to be joined here by the assistant coach and community manager, former player, and a man who's played for Canada 50 times, Nick Ledgerwood. Buddy, congrats.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thank you.
I guess we'll rewind a little and we'll look forward. It's a huge game this weekend against Forge, your greatest rival over the 5 years of this league, and we'll get to that. But I believe you're sort of new to the not playing and coaching side. What has this season particularly been like? Because you guys have been knocking on the door, it seems like every year for 5. And finally, there wasn't a Shield year 1. You would have had it. But you win the regular season, and it feels like Calgary's playing the best football of the last